Hello there, Commonwealth from here. The dual world concept. First introduced in A Link to the Past in 1991, or actually Triforce of the Gods, the original Japanese title of the game, which makes sense as in Zelda lore, the gift of the goddesses was eventually used in its complete form by Ganon to corrupt the sacred realm or Golden Land, the result being the Dark World. So do I think that this, in Echoes of Wisdom, is the Dark World? No, but it is definitely yet another domain connected but also separate from Hyrule ruled by Ganon. So be sure to leave a like, subscribe or press notification bell, and let's enter the other side of the rift. A space of evil of unknown proportions unleashed from the Demon King's trident. Even worse, with the hero trapped in it and forced to do the evil king's bidding. A hint to that can be traced to the official box art of the game, where we see Link surrounded by the same purple energy unleashed by and glowing from Ganon, with his sword and shield pulled, as if possessed by the Demon King in order to protect him. We also know that Link ended up here, with the new bow, hinting towards what kind of arsenal we might have to face when we finally encounter the hero who was denied his triumph by Ganon's trident. Link sacrificed himself for his princess, and the fact that she's the only one to escape from being swallowed by the rift might be why, after being greeted by his soldiers, that she was imprisoned in the first place. Even her own soldiers might think that she's behind this threat, and as a result locked her up to prevent it from expanding. This would also explain why the princess is wearing a disguise in a quest to save her kingdom. Even then, her soldiers face Impa, who beats up these simpletons, all to clear the path for Zelda. At the same time, the opposition of her own forces makes sense, seeing that they don't know that Ganon's trident remained after his defeat, and that it was it that opened the first rift. Why? Since the weapon ended up on the other side, with Link and implied to be a revived Ganon. The princess is the only one from the confrontation who escaped the source of the rift, and no doubt the danger is real, as we can see rifts opening across the land. In fact, it appears that they're expanding following the opening, as from the title reveal, Hyrule is still safe, and many of the areas later covered by rifts are still in a normal state. Though it quickly changes by the time Zelda escapes from Hyrule Castle's dungeon. NPCs being swallowed by the rifts and losing color in the process, as if being drained of the life force. Not so different from the colorless Zelda drained of her life force by Vati in the Minish Cap. And here we need to pay attention to one detail, as Link, despite being swallowed by the rift, maintains the color of his clothing, skin and hair color. This stands in stark contrast to this poor lady here. Is it due to the fact that he holds the Triforce of Courage, making the rift more of a gateway, something that this particular scene of Zelda within possibly the rift suggests? A life-draining trap, unless you hold a piece of the Triforce. In this case, it might follow the division of Ocarina of Time, as the setup leading to Link's final battle is near identical to that game, including the purple/pink crystal that the princess is trapped in. And you know what Zelda in Ocarina of Time held? The Triforce of Wisdom. In Echoes of Wisdom, the power of echoes, and that part of the title is tied to Tri, the companion. But the Wisdom part of the title is most likely tied to the Triforce of Wisdom. In fact, it is very likely that Tri first appeared in Hyrule Castle's dungeon as Princess Zelda holds the Triforce of Wisdom, and said relic is then being used to allow for the creation of echoes. In other words, the Triforce held potentially by Ganon, Zelda, and Link might allow you to explore the other side of the rift without being drained, which brings us over to the water block scene. Since is this a full world map mirroring Hyrule, like in the past A Link/Triforce of the Gods games? Or is this rather one of many sections in the game that combine top-down and side-scroller gameplay? Not an overworld per se, but rather smaller loading areas, and only explorable by entering individual rifts. A number of them in the central parts of the land, in fact. Castle Town is obvious, and it begs the question, would we find a different purple dark settlement on the other side if we attempt to enter? As the narrator said,
"Across the vast lands of Hyrule, strange rifts have appeared and have taken many people, including Link,"
causing these parts of Hyrule to end up in the parallel dimension. Either way, for her escape, the princess might potentially end up in the town or next to the effing rocks, as I call them. Here we find another rift as Zelda gained her Moblin Echo. But I do really want to know what we will find on the other side. Same with this one in the northeast on the path to what appears to be Zora's domain. Is it from this rift that the water block scene is from? Possibly, though it might also be in a different location, seeing that this Hyrule has a lot of water and potentially even a sea in the east. What we know from the minimap is that while Zelda is pulling up echoes of tables, there's a rift directly west and above of Lake Hylia. From the footage we have also seen so far of Kakariko village, it appears that the settlement, much like Gerudo town, has been spared from the rifts. It is just that the extended box art tells a different story. Here we can see an extensive rift close to the settlement, hinting that Castle Town might not be the only settlement that has seen structures/buildings move to the other side. Remember, Kakariko village in A Link to the Past had its mirror equivalent in the Dark World, the village of outcasts. One link between worlds low rule, it was Thieves' Town. This tradition really makes you wonder what is found on the other side of the rifts in the settlements in the different corners of Hyrule in Echoes of Wisdom. Same goes south from where Zelda is standing and naturally east. Will we also see this threat in the volcanic and alpine territories? And will it be mirrored on the other side of the rift? You see, as we demonstrated in a previous video, Hyrule of Echoes of Wisdom has been significantly expanded in most of its territories from their Link games, with new settlements and areas that go beyond the established boundaries. With it, the need for an equally as large darker counterpart has been diminished. Though there might be a twist. Remember that the Dark World itself remains the biggest twist in Zelda gameplay history. You have beaten 3 dungeons, you have claimed a new ultimate weapon, the Master Sword, you have even defeated Aghanim. And boom, you're in a whole new world with far more dungeons and threats than in Hyrule. That is one of many things that makes A Link to the Past truly timeless. But even then, the map was mirrored in the A Link games, light and dark, as that is the era where their Link games take place in Hyrule, in this version of the land. And its rifts, it appears that something more is going on. Since unlike in A Link to the Past and A Link Between Worlds, where we first were able to enter the parallel world after the first 3 dungeons, it appears that in this game we can do so at an earlier point. You see, Tears of the Kingdom saw no territorial expansion on the surface from Breath of the Wild. Instead, the game gained new territories, below in the form of the inverted depths, and the pieces of land and structures in the sky in the form of floating islands. And what do we see in this water block scene? Floating islands. The following is only a theory of mine, but what if this particular scene is a hint to the structure of Echo's second world, causing this Dark World to be this game's equivalent of the Sky Islands? Smaller sections of land that early on in the game are disconnected and only reachable from the surface launch points, but which later on get connected through the use of our tools and abilities. Much like the water block from what looks to be within the rift, and which is then used to build a vertical path up the mountain. In fact, I'm sitting with the feeling that these rifts might be hiding heart pieces and echoes that cannot be found in the Hyrule overworld. But to claim these in the first place, you need to create echoes from objects found in Hyrule, say a table, trampoline, and more. In other words, making these dimensions disconnected, but also connected at the same time. The more I think of it this way, it feels like this game is combining the Sky Islands and depths into one separate layer, away from Hyrule, and by doing so we get the best of both. Plus underwater gameplay, which was clearly emphasized in the reveal. Indeed, this is top-down Zelda elevated to a whole new level with the best of open-air Zelda while also addressing some of the shortcomings of Breath and Tears. Having a non-ruined castle town, addressing the lack of underwater swimming, addressing no playable Zelda, and naturally, addressing the empty depths and Sky Islands. Since in Echoes of Wisdom, it looks like the rift sections are all packed with valuable content, all to help with a further quest. Jump in, grab what you need, and then use that to conquer Hyrule in new ways, or stay and face the horrors within the rifts, the enemies of this new Dark World. Yes, the variety of them on the surface is very impressive for a cute top-down Zelda experience, but my oh my, could we see some brand new enemies in these darkest sections of the game. I really think that the reveal trailer is hiding away a massive surprise on the other side, and I'm not only hinting at a boss fight against Puppet Link, but far more interesting enemies than little annoying frog enemies that eat up the light. I mean, the lack of new exclusive enemy types to Tears of the Kingdom's depths was just depressing. Well, here's the opportunity to make up for it and also give us some awesome monster echoes in the process. Imagine unleashing these on the monsters of Hyrule. I can already imagine the possibilities. But what do you expect from the rifts in The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom come September 26? Sound off in the comment section down below. If you haven't already, then be sure to leave a like, subscribe and press the notification bell to not miss any future videos on the 21st Zelda game and other Zelda videos. A big thanks to you for watching and to all our patreon.com/CommonRealm patrons. Special shoutouts go to royal producers Zach Johnson and JC Funk, and heroes Holly Wolf, Cheryl, and Garrett Hoy. You rock, and please enjoy one or both of these two awesome videos.